Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming to Ausome. My name is David. We're going to have a really good meetup tonight. Very good topic, online reviews. Thanks for coming out tonight, the week after the holiday. Really appreciate it. We've got plenty of beer there to help you cope with that. So the beer and food are sponsored by Affiliate Summit. So thanks to Sean Collins. Give him a round of applause. Show of hands, people going to Affiliate Summit next weekend. So pretty good turnout here in the crowd.
Entire front row.
Yeah, that's why they're all sitting up here. There's the smart ones. See, it just worked out that way. But Affiliate Summit will be in Vegas next week. So if you're going to tweet, use the hashtag #BeAwesome. Use the Meetup app to check in and upload photos. What would really be helpful is if you took a photo of me and uploaded it, because every month when I come out to this meetup, I go to the Meetup app and look at the photos to see what shirt I was wearing last month, so I don't wear it again this month. So if you could do that for me, that'd be really solid. I'm not going to get in the way of the speaker too much tonight. I'll talk to you a little bit about him. I've known Brian for a couple of years off and on with Pubcon, a conference we both speak at. Pubcon Austin, by the way, will be in Austin in April, and there was an email that went out earlier this month with a 20% off coupon. If you didn't get the email and you want to go, talk to Kelsey. But Brian's a really smart guy, knows a lot about reviews. His company, I'll let him tell a little bit more about that, but they focus on local SEO, and a big part of local SEO is reviews. So if you've ever dealt with an online review, one of the challenges with it is knowing what to do. So for example, on one of my sites, I had a guy that was mad that I got the name and he didn't like that too much and went out and posted a bunch of fake online reviews to all these different sites and had to think long and hard about how to cope with that and deal with that. And so if you're dealing with those same kind of issues, our speaker tonight is going to have some really good advice. So without getting in his way, Mr. Brian Combs.
Trade drinks with you there. Hi, I'm Brian Combs. My company is ionadas Local. Like saying, I do local SEO. I've been doing that exclusively for 5 years now. More and more of local SEO is managing reviews, and so I find myself doing that all the time. In a lot of cases, clients will start showing up on Google My Business or Yelp and these various things, and all of a sudden all these reviews start rolling in, and the question becomes, what are we going to do about them? Excuse me. So tonight I'm going to talk about how you work with the online review systems, what the landscape looks like, and how and if you should respond to various reviews. Some of my slides here are a little dense. If you want a copy of the deck, drop me off a card afterwards and I'll email it to you probably tomorrow. So let's see here. Oh yeah, one last thing. I do have a bit of bias because of my business background on the local system, so Google My Business and Yelp. I'm trying to speak more widely here. Most of the ideas and the concepts very much apply to other non-local systems. So what is ionadas Local? We were founded in 2009, do local SEO, review management, and some WordPress work. My background is I created my first website actually way back in 1993. First business website. I've been focused on SEO since early 2000s. I was a founding partner in Apogee Search, some of you may know of. Notable clients I've worked with over the years include KW.com, Golfsmith, Perkin-Elmer, National Public Radio, among others. That picture has my 3-year-old daughter. That's what gets me going. This was one of her more costumed moments. I don't know if she wants to be a chef or just likes the outfit. So public speaking 101 is to tell your audience what you're going to tell them, then tell it to them, and then tell them what you told them. I'm going to give you 2 of those 3. I probably won't tell you what I told you. But first I'll talk about why reviews are important. Then we'll kind of go with the overview from a high level and some conceptual issues of what the review landscape looks like. Then we'll talk about a process for encouraging reviews and then what to do when reviews come in. Because it really doesn't matter how good a business you've got, you're probably going to end up with a negative review or 2 here or there. So why are reviews important? For a number of reasons. First of all, with most of the review engines, the facts that a review are coming in, they will impact the rankings, in which case quantity matters in most cases. In many cases, quality doesn't matter much at all. For instance, Google doesn't really care whether a review is 5-star or 1-star, in most cases, some exceptions, but they mostly care that you're getting these reviews coming in. Now, for conversion, of course, the quality matters quite a bit. They want to see If somebody's going to be buying from you or hiring you for a service, they want to see that you provide a good service. They're also very useful as a feedback channel. And this is where a lot of, I think, business owners really neglect to take advantage of this. View these reviews that are coming in as telling you what your business is doing. Yeah, they may occasionally tell you your baby's ugly, but use that and get better because of it. So the review landscape, I kind of throw the review systems into 3 different buckets. There's the local search engines, which is Google My Business and Yahoo Local, Bing Local, those guys. It also includes the local directories such as Yelp and City Search and the various internet yellow pages. Then you have online merchants, the most notable, of course, being Amazon. The reviews your product is getting on Amazon will make all the difference in the world of whether that product sells or not. I would also include eBay, systems such as iTunes in this bucket. Excuse me. You might even think about the reviews on outsourcing systems like Elance or Odesk as essentially being this sort of site. Austin company Bazaar Voice is providing technologies for this. Are you Bazaar Voice?
I was a moderator.
Okay, great. That's what they do. Is that this technology is helping merchants provide online review systems.
I didn't think they let y'all out.
No, they do occasionally.
She got special dispensation to get out. Then, of course, there's vertical sites. These are specific to certain industries. Pretty much every single industry in the world is going to have vertical sites for it. So think about with restaurants, you've got OpenTable, you've got Urban Spoon, service providers, like home service providers have Angie's List and Home Advisor, health grades and rate MDs for doctors. You could even put travel sites here like Travel Advisor, but they overlap some with some of the local systems as well because they tend to be locally focused services and places listed. One of the big developments of the last few months, last year or so, has been Levitt v. Yelp. Those of you that are in the local space know that most local companies are not real happy with Yelp. They've taken an aggressive stance in a lot of cases. Levitt v. Yelp was a lawsuit by a small group of business owners claiming that Yelp bullied them into advertising to make or making reviews appear or disappear depending on whether they were advertising or not. The case was initially dismissed before trial, so we don't really have any findings of fact. Yelp, of course, says they don't engage in any sort of bullying behavior. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit concluded that even if the allegations of the plaintiff were true, or that Yelp was bullying, this did not violate California law. In other words, it is legal in California to Yelp to tie whether your reviews show up or not, whether certain reviews disappear, to whether you advertise. Yelp's still facing some real challenges. The FTC has reported that they have received something like 2,000 complaints about Yelp over the last 6 years, excuse me. And on average, Yelp receives 2 subpoenas a week. Some restaurants are trying to fight back. Botto Bistro in Richmond, California has offered a 25% discount off a pizza, or 25% off a pizza for anyone that places a 1-star review on Yelp. They want to be the lowest rated restaurant in the area. The results have been hysterical, just absolutely hysterical. So Botto Bistro, Richmond, go look that up on Yelp if you've got a little time to spare. The Consumer Review Freedom Act has been proposed by Eric Swalwell in Democrat California. I actually don't know what's going to happen with the new Congress we're going into, so this may be a little bit dated. The idea is that it will invalidate any contract that prohibits or restricts the ability of a person who is a party to the foreign contract to engage in a covered communication. In other words, a company can't stop you from placing a review on them. This is based on California law. A little too early to see if this goes anywhere, but I think in most cases, existing law is going to cover this. Google, if you've worked with Google before, you know they tend to be a little opaque on how you can do things on their guidelines. They're slowly becoming a little more clear. They now have specific content policies. Violations of these content policies will cause reviews to be filtered out. They explicitly state not to use the review mechanism for general commentary. So don't make political statements. This sort of thing happens when a local business becomes part of a larger public debate or a larger public story. They also define various conflicts of interest they want to discourage. Notable is that review stations within your place of business are specifically recommended not to do, but they don't explicitly deny them. There's some things going on in France. The French chefs seem to really hate bad reviews. They've got a online petition that just surpassed 2,000 signatures in the last couple of weeks. It's been signed by some of the biggest names in French food. The pace of the signatures is fairly low right now, so I think it has like 1,900 signatures back in September. The idea is that this will require review sites to moderate their users and require proof that a reviewer has actually been to the establishment. I'm not sure exactly how a review site would pull that off. Don't really expect it to go anywhere. This is France we're talking about. We'll talk a little bit. There's a French restaurant that won a judgment against an unpaid blogger for a negative review. We'll talk about that in a second. Mike Blumenthal is one of the leading names in the local SEO world. This past summer, he created an online survey to explore user behavior of online reviews. It's an online survey, so you got to take it with a grain of salt, but it was fairly large, so it was very interesting because of that. The big takeaway to me is that it's proof of what we sorry, Stacey? Oh, right about there. Sorry, I thought it was a question. The big takeaway was something I think we intuitively know, that most people are unlikely to leave any sort of review of your business. It's critical that you identify people that are happy who might place a review and make sure they're kept happy. The top review sites were Google, Facebook, and Yelp in a descending order. Google is the top site, but 68% of people are preferring to go elsewhere. So it's very, very spread out. Facebook and Yelp were close enough to be statistically even in how many people are going there. The gender breakdown was even on most sites, although Facebook reviews tend to be by women and Yelp reviews tend to be by men. Yes?
Is there a breakdown of what Google's popular for versus what Yelp is popular for? Because I presume that Google may be more businesses, but Yelp is more restaurants.
I haven't seen a study on this case. My feeling would be Yelp is going to be exclusively locally focused businesses. You've got a bit of a wider approach from Google, although it's still mostly local that's coming up. So effectively, it's the same audiences. I don't see big differences between them, though. So how do you encourage reviews? In some cases, the engines don't want you to encourage reviews. Yelp explicitly states don't encourage reviews. In my opinion, that's not particularly realistic. We're all internet marketers. We're going to do everything we can to game the system. So the way you do this is be proactive. Make encouraging a review a process. But you also want to be transparent. Don't be deceptive. Don't insist on a certain tone in reviews. Ask for honest feedback. And be ready for that negative review. Don't panic when you get one. Studies have indicated that a batch of reviews is actually more trusted if it includes some negative reviews. If you've got a huge corpus of reviews and they're all 5 stars and super positive and never anything negative is said, people tend not to trust that, because in most cases that doesn't reflect reality. We'll talk about what to do when you get that negative review, though. Places to get reviews. This is a little bit of a duplicate of my earlier slide, but let's talk more particularly about where you want to get them. For local search engines, if you're a locally focused company, Google My Business is critical. In most cases, Yelp is going to be very important as well because they've got so much traffic. To a lesser case, City Search. Although City Search reviews tend to syndicate to Google My Business, Yahoo Local, and Bing Local, so they have multiple benefits there. Excuse me. Google also does pull in a lot of reviews from other sites. So search on your keywords, look at the people that are coming up at their listings, and see where they're pulling reviews in, because those are places you probably should be working to get reviews from as well. If your product is sold through online merchant, you obviously have to be reviewed there. On vertical sites, again, pretty much every industry is going to have vertical sites. Find the ones for your company and see if they do reviews. In many cases, these will syndicate also to Google My Business, such as OpenTable and Urban Spoon. You'll see those pop up in your Google My Business listing. With these syndications, that one review can be seen in many, many places, but they can also drive traffic directly. Remember that diversity is good. This broadens your exposure, get more people seeing you. But at times, Google in particular and the other engines will lose reviews. You'll see them just disappear. Google's pretty good, they tend to come back. I can't remember the last time I didn't see that one didn't come back, but sometimes they'll just disappear. If you've got all your eggs in one basket and that basket disappeared, you've got trouble. But mostly look for where your potential customers are. Are they on City Search? That's where you should be. Are they looking for people for your service on Yelp? You need to be there as well. Also remember that a review from someone who has an established history with that service is probably worth more than somebody who has just set that service up. If somebody sets up a Yelp account and places that first review, there's a really good chance it'll be filtered out. If they've placed 50 reviews, it probably won't be filtered out. Ways to encourage reviews. Again, make it a process, make it a mindset. You need to be thinking about what you're going to do, how you're going to encourage reviews. Your employees need to be involved, not just you. Offer a variety of review sites and be sure to explain how to place reviews. Most people don't know how to do this. Be ethical and transparent. Again, don't ask for positive reviews, ask for honest feedback. You ask for positive reviews and they're upset, guarantee you're going to get that negative review. But be creative. There's so many different things you can do. A retail outlet might put up put up a sign at the point of sale. Let us know how we did, and here's how you do it. You could have a table tent at a restaurant. I've got a client that's actually a fast food burger restaurant, and they do drop-in cards with their bags that tell how to do it. It could be on your invoice or receipt if you're a B2B company. Email or printed newsletters are great opportunities to ask for reviews. Anything social media can do that. You could set up a review web page on your site that might link to the various review sites for your company, and then you could distribute that via a shortened URL. You might not put that into your website's navigational hierarchy, depending on whether you want everybody going there or not. Kind of depends on your review situation. But that's one way you get people to pick out which site they use. If they use Google My Business, let them choose that out. If they use Yelp, let them choose that. But again, be creative. I've got a buddy that's a chiropractor in Los Angeles, and they received a negative Yelp review, really just scathing. And he decided that the guy was kind of crazy. There wasn't anything he could do to fix it. So he printed out the review and put it on his front desk there where people checked in for chiropractic services and let them all read it. His clients tend to be raving fans of him. All of a sudden, he didn't even say, hey, please go put something positive on Yelp. People just did it. Keywords in reviews. They definitely impact the rankings, particularly on Google My Business. They provide additional space for long tail keywords. In many cases, you've got limited real estate in your business or product listing. These reviews can talk about other aspects of your business that don't have enough traffic to be listed there personally or directly within the listing, but you still want them. You can also get block terms. When I created this company in 2009, this was number of name changes with Google ago. I think it was Google Maps at the time. It may have been Google Local. I can't remember which it was. But I set up a Google listing, and I talked about optimization of Google Local. Bang! That account was then banned by Google because they don't want you to talk about the word Google. So created a new account, did it again. It was very annoying, but I did it. I still wanted to rank for Google Local optimization. So some of my clients started talking about that in their reviews, and I started coming up for that. So if there are banned words, you may be able to rank through reviews. But be careful trying to manipulate the content, because you can get yourself in trouble that way. Your intentions can easily be misconstrued. The way you can get some of this done is by biasing who you ask for a review. Let's say you have 5 different product lines, and you've got a particular one, you really want that word coming up in the reviews. Put more effort towards asking those guys, those customers, for reviews. You'll tend to get what you want that way. Yeah?
Do you think that your reply to reviews is influenced through keywords?
No. No, not at all. No. No. So he asked if your reply to review, if that keyword's there, would impact the reviews, and the answer is absolutely no, because it would be too easy to game. Google would never do that. Review velocity is the pace at which reviews are coming in. both the absolute rate and the consistency of that rate. What you don't want to be is like the python that just ate a huge meal, ate a big rabbit, and have all these reviews that are coming in at once. And have this big group coming in, nothing, a big group of reviews and then nothing. Doesn't look natural. This is clearly part of many of the ranking algorithms. Having a consistent pace of reviews shows how viable your business is. But again, every review helps. If you're not getting many reviews, get a few coming in, it's going to help. Google is filtering reviews. They've been filtering reviews for a couple of years now. It does seem that a lot of sketchy reviews are being removed, and that's a very, very good thing. This is mostly algorithmically based. In fact, the new guidelines I talked about earlier explicitly state that if a review is filtered and then edited to comply with the guidelines, it'll be automatically republished, which says to me that any filtering by hand is an exception. It's almost all algorithmic, which is Google's tendency in general. Reviews from users that don't have a public presence on Google Plus are no longer linked. Are they worth less? So your older reviews that nobody set up, that people didn't set up a public presence on them, probably they are worth less, yes. I don't think they're filtering third-party reviews yet. They certainly could. In some cases, probably should. Google's not the only company filtering reviews. Filtering reviews for certain sites that begin with Y and end with P does seem to have an interesting correlation with whether the reviewed company is an advertiser or not. Let's talk about responding to reviews. First of all, you need to be able to detect the reviews. If you are only getting 2 or 3, or you only care about 2 or 3 review sites, and you're only getting a few reviews per week, maybe you can monitor it by hand. But if you've got dozens of reviews coming in every week, you need a review monitoring system, or if you've got a bunch of different review systems that you need to monitor. There are a lot of tools out there that will do this. The one that's appropriate for you is going to depend on your business and which engines that particular tool can monitor. The good news is most of them have some sort of free trial because they want you to get hooked on the data. So you can generally go find out which one works for you without spending any money. But in any case, when you get a review, listen to what's being said. Is there any merit to what they're saying? Can you use this as feedback? In many cases, you may be better off trying to change or improve your business, or else you're just playing defense. Should you respond to the review? This is a bit of a controversial opinion, but my answer is not always. A lot of people that talk about reviews say you should respond to every single review your company gets. And in a perfect world, sure, they're right. But this isn't a perfect world. There's many cases where it doesn't make sense to review or to respond to every review. If you're getting a lot of reviews and you don't have time to do specific responses and you're doing just a copy-paste dump into the reviews, that's not going to look right when people look at your responses. That doesn't look like you're giving it much effort. So if you can't respond to every review with a customized response, just respond to the ones you can. Also, don't respond if you're going to make it worse. I run into this a lot with a lot of my clients. Yeah, you've just been told your baby is ugly. Don't make it worse. Calm down first. If you make it personal, I guarantee it's going to get bad. Excuse me. At a high level, you're better off burying that negative review with good ones coming in than trying to respond to it. Type of complainers. Legitimate complaints. These are guys that, you know what, we dropped the ball. You didn't get it done, or we've got a bad business process. Engage, explain. You can engage with the customer online, explain what happened, and fix the problem. If you're not going to fix the problem, engaging will likely make things worse. Next, you have people with unrealistic expectations. What you're doing here is you engage and you explain. Your goal is to inform others. You don't want to capitulate, or you may set a precedent. So if you capitulate to their unrealistic expectations, you've just set a new business policy because you've done this publicly. Third is lunatics. If you've been dealing with online reviews, you've probably had some reviews coming in with lunatics. These are the guys that when you're reading the review of a restaurant, you're thinking, oh God, I'm glad this person didn't come to my place of business. First, they tend to be really easy to spot. But remember, engaging is like, it's like wrestling with a pig. You're both going to get ugly, you're both going to get dirty, and the pig likes it. Some more here. Engagement is what the lunatic wants. You can't give him Thorazine via the web, so be careful. But you may still want to inform others. In this case, if you're going to respond to a lunatic, have others read the review and give their opinion before posting. Preferably somebody outside your business. That's a trusted, hopefully non-emotional response. So make sure you can find you're responding properly. Next and last is the former employees and the competitors. You get lots of these. Again, they're usually easy to spot because they're the guy that they've got an opinion that you only would know if you were behind the register. If you read them, you can usually tell, okay, that guy works there. He's a competitor. He knows the industry too well. They may be worth responding to inform others. Okay. If you do engage, expect to make mistakes. It will happen, but the more you can let go of your ego and not lose your cool, the better. Don't throw gasoline on flames. You just make it worse. Pick your battles. Get input from others. Is this particular review worth responding to? Am I making my business better by responding to this, or am I making things worse? And remember, there are no secrets. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a public forum. Even if you respond to the reviewer via email, there's a good chance he'll post it somewhere. So remember that. Some things to review, or things to avoid, self-reviewing. When I first started doing local SEO in 2009, I called up my mom and explained to her what I was doing. And to her credit, she actually understood this better than traditional SEO because it was more of her world. But a few days later, she called me back and said, okay, I'm looking at all these reviews on Google and reviews on Yelp, and they look like they were written by the company themselves. And my answer was, yeah, they probably were. Again, it's very easy to spot. It's also easy to get in trouble. In July 2009, the New York State Attorney General attained a $300,000 settlement against a company called Lifestyle Lift for self-reviewing. In October of that same year, the FTC released guidance that strongly suggested they will take action against the creators of fake reviews. Haven't done a whole lot since then, but at some point they're going to want to make an example of somebody. In February 2011, the Today Show ran an expose on hotels and restaurants writing reviews about themselves. At some point, this sort of mainstream exposure in the press is going to cause the FTC to want to make an example of somebody. Incentivized reviews. These are considered gray hat or worse by some people. I could argue that don't people deserve compensation for their time, but the potential for misinterpretation is there if you're incentivizing a review. And insisting on the tone is clearly a problem. Also, a good process generally negates the need to incentivize reviews, so save the money. Ending reviews at the place of business. I've got a restaurant. Let me set up a review station and people can log in and place their review. It certainly makes it easy for the customer. So in that sense, it makes sense. On the other hand, it's also really, really easy to detect by the search engine or by the site, and it can appear faked. These reviews on Google in particular, and I suspect on other sites as well, seem to be filtered at a fairly high rate. Let's talk about the Streisand effect. Who knows what the Streisand effect is? You're not going to explain it to me. The Streisand effect is the idea of you've got something you don't want to be public. It gets put on the web. You try to get it shut down and taken down, and it becomes all the more public. This came about a few years back. There was a website that was talking about soil erosion on the California coast and putting pictures up of the coast. One of these pictures happened to be of Barbara Streisand's house. She sued to get this picture taken down. This became big news. All of a sudden, everybody had pictures of her house. You see this a lot with online reviews. It generally happens when somebody goes legal in response to a review. In March 2014, Ron Gordon Watch Repair of Brooklyn had their lawyer send a remove request to the poster of a really fairly innocuous review. The letter was then posted to little sites like Gawker and TechDirt. I'm sure that publicity wasn't helpful. It even resulted in their lawyer, who had written the lawyer letter, receiving nasty reviews on Yelp. Let's see here. I'm going to pronounce this one wrong, but Il Guardino in Cap Ferret, Southwest France, won a judgment against an unpaid amateur blogger for a negative review. The blogger was charged almost $3,500 US in fines and court fees. Of course, searches on the restaurant's name now bring up lots and lots of articles about this lawsuit. In 2010, New York dentist Dr. Stacy Maknovich had a clause in her contract with patients. In return for what she called closing loopholes in HIPAA, patients promised to refrain from publishing any negative commentary about her. The interesting part is, if anyone did post something negative, the copyright on that contract would revert to the dentist, which allowed her then to file takedown requests on that review. One customer, Robert Lee, posted a very negative review, claiming he was overcharged by thousands of dollars, posted it on Yelp. Maknovich then sent that DMCA takedown to Yelp, and the review was pulled. But Robert Lee wasn't a pushover. He contacted Public Citizen, a firm known for taking on internet free speech cases. They'd been looking for a way to challenge the type of contract that she was using. So in November 2011, they filed a class action suit against her, and she's since abandoned her dental practice and disappeared. Yeah, some weird stuff happens in these things. Braybook Remodelers of Connecticut filed more than 40 lawsuits for negative reviews. This inspired one person to create a website tracking these lawsuits, and where she documented her specific legal hassles with the company. The story got picked up by Cory Doctorow, who one or two of you may have heard of, from Boing Boing, as well as by TechDirt. Braybook actually doubled down and is threatening TechDirt and saying they'll have thousands of bloggers write bad things about them, which I think everyone at TechDirt laughed at that. This was late July, early August, a story broke that Union Street Guest House in Hudson, New York, had a policy in their contract for weddings that stated that if any member of the wedding party posted a bad review, the wedding host would be fined $500. When the story broke on this, thousands of negative reviews were posted on Yelp. Thousands were then filtered by Yelp, of course, because they weren't people that had really been there. That then caused a backlash against Yelp. As of last I looked was mid-September, Union Street Guest House had an average star rating on Yelp of 1.5. Reviews that had made it through the filter discussed the poor service, the dirty rooms, and how the entire wedding party for one wedding got crabs. Some controversial issues. Rules are vague and inconsistent in many cases. Google is starting to provide some guidance, but they're still vague in many ways. For those of you that know SEO, back in 2002, many thought active link building of any sort at that point was black hat. Google, again, instructs us not to incentivize reviews, but I've seen cases where they give out, like, I think it was an Amy's Ice Cream $5 gift certificate for placing a review when they were moving into Austin with their local business. So they've done it too. But again, you don't really need to if you've got a good process. But most important, don't deceive your users. How about encouraging reviews at multiple sites? Maybe you ask for a really happy customer for a review at Google and Yelp, or Google, Yelp, and City Search. These sites all have different audiences, so there's a valid argument for it, but it can really easily seem disingenuous. So be very careful there. Can you pay to remove reviews? I hear lots of stories on that same company that starts with Y and ends with P, but I've never personally seen it, other than certain cash extraction sites. Some closing thoughts with your review system. Get your entire team involved. Always be thinking about reviews. And if your business sucks, you may not want to encourage reviews. Questions? Yes?
So I went to this particular food trailer that will remain nameless in Austin, and because it had great reviews, and I was talking with the gentleman that owned it and telling him, all this great stuff. And I said, yeah, I'll give you a Yelp review. And I just started, just kind of riffing and just kind of going and just say, hey, it's this and that. And he said, wow, that's really good. And I said, well, I'm in marketing, so I like to do that and go on. And he said, wow, so that's better than this gal that I hired to write. And I said, really? And then so apparently he admitted that he had hired someone to write some reviews. So then I started thinking, always heard this, but I didn't really have any concrete knowledge. So then I really started digging in and doing some research, and I uncovered some pretty disgusting things, like one company that creates a software that markets to people that want to work from home that this is your new business. You buy our software and you can have a professional reviewing business to review on all these sites.
Yeah, you see a lot of that. The systems are getting much better about filtering those. It used to be you could jump and look at the reviews somebody had placed on Google, for instance, and you would see, my gosh, they've used maid services in Houston, Austin, Dallas, Memphis, Tennessee. Wow, they get around a lot. Google is filtering most of those. You still see them. They're getting better. Again, those of us in the SEO space, you know how it works. We get a new toy, we bang it until it doesn't work anymore. That's just what we do. Our bizarre voice person wants to add something.
Yeah, like when it comes to being incentivized, or getting incentivized reviews, what do you think about Loot Crate and Birchbox, where you're basically being given product? I never really liked these because I hated getting reviews for them because you had to watch whether or not they had to make sure they actually use the product. Is that would be like incentivizing reviews, because you're technically giving something.
Yeah, I would say that's an incentivized review. I would say from the FTC's perspective, disclosure of that incentive is probably going to be required. I mean, it's a question mark. If it's a $5 coupon to Amy's ice cream, you probably should review it. You're not going to get in trouble if you don't. If you're getting an $800 piece of software and you're writing a review about it, you probably better disclose that.
Yeah.
Google is actively attempting to detect those sorts of incentivized blog postings and those sorts of things, and they are killing link juice, killing page rank on those for those bloggers. It's an ongoing fight, but I mean there's a continuum. But if it's incentivized, you probably should disclose it as far as the FTC is concerned. Yes.
Also with incentivized reviews, what's your take on incentivizing for a repeat customer? So if it is, asking someone that they know had a good experience and asking for them to review the business and then receive a 20% off coupon on their next visit?
Google would say no. There's a fine line between that sort of thing and a loyalty program. So some of that is in the wording. Without looking at the specific, it's hard to say. You're in a gray area, I would say. Depending upon the exact setup of the program, you could be on one side or a little less gray or a little more gray, depending on what you're doing. I mean, most loyalty programs are that sort of thing. If you're not asking your customers that are using your loyalty program to place reviews of you, you're missing a huge opportunity there. You could offer to, hey, if we get that review, I'll bump you up a level in the reviews of the loyalty system, whatever. There's ways you could do these sorts of things, but you're definitely in a gray area there. Again, if you're consistently asking for these reviews and asking for honest feedback, you probably don't need to do that. Yes?
You had mentioned about some perfect mix of a lot of positive and some negative reviews to look at it. Is there any sort of algorithms for...
You guys are technical marketers. You want to know what the breakdown is to make it perfect. I've not seen that. I've not seen a study on that. It's actually an interesting topic. I think it would probably vary somewhat by marketplace.
Let's say for a business, considering the baseline, considering its seasonality, and then getting the baseline and looking at natural language processing, NLP, with the text mining people do, to have an optimized mix of positive sentiment and negative sentiment analysis correlated to sales, where it maximizes, sales.
Mm-hmm.
Or also, I'm sure Google and other guys have a way to...
I'm sure Google knows, yeah.
Fraud data, but is it,
I've not seen a study on that. I don't view it as, personally, as looking for this optimization. I view it as, it's going to be more trusted if it's some negative, but the amount that it helps is going to vary by industry. I would look at what you want to be is in your industry, you want to be at least on the average of that, perfectly on the upper side of that. Some cases, people will totally freak out at any sort of negative review. If you ever worked with an Odesker, if you've ever given a 4-star review to an Odesker, they freak out because they're all working really hard to get that perfect score. I don't think it matters. I don't look and expect a perfect score on an Odesker, but if you give a less than perfect score, you're going to hear back about it. I don't know if there is a perfect formula. There are. I would again try to be in the upper quintile or something like that of your industry, because some industries are not trusted. If you look at my wife is an ER doc, and so I spent some time looking at hospitals. Your big hospitals tend to have an average star rating of around 3. You get lots of negative reviews. But you compare that to the, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with standalone ERs, which are kind of the go in quickly type ER. If they don't have at least a 4, they're in trouble. They're doing badly. Same sort of business, but a slightly different marketplace. You better have a higher review system. So it just really depends on what your industry is. Come on, we got a few more.
Have you ever seen anybody use a review station or any other system to intercept negative reviews? In other words, leave your comment for a manager to read later rather than charging up?
I've not seen that. The closest thing is, any of you guys heard of a company called Demand Force? They started off servicing the dentist industry. They moved into a lot more of those sort of local services. They work directly with the client, and then they send an email follow-up after your dental appointment or whatever you had done. I think I just saw one on my house cleaning service that was Demand Force. And then you're putting it in through their system, and then they're syndicating it to Google. I question whether the bad reviews are getting passed along to Google in that situation. I haven't seen that proven. I did a little checking back when they were really just focusing on dentists. It seemed like the average Demand Force rating was a little higher than the average Google My Business, with Google Places rating. But that could be just because one is directly asked for and one is waiting for the pissed off customers to come in. It's hard to say, but that's the closest thing I've seen to it. I kind of wonder if those services are really passing along all the negative reviews, because it'd be easy for them to just drop away or hand off that feedback to the client, let them know that, yeah, it really hurt when they pulled out that tooth or so whatever the negative feedback was, but not pass that along to Google. I don't know, I've not used the service personally. It wouldn't surprise me if those sort of things are going on. I'm a little surprised that those reviews are still feeding into Google as a trusted review, because it would be really easy for them to gain it. Maybe they know somebody on the inside and they believe them, I don't know. Yeah.
So services like Angie's List, where you pay a service monthly, I'm not a member, but do you feel that those kinds of reviews are more or less trustworthy to the end user, in your opinion?
I think they would probably tend to be more trustworthy, because it's somebody that, again, they're paying, I don't know what the description is for Angie's List right now, but they're paying some fee per month. So they're not just somebody that got pissed off and decided to post a review. They're taking another step. So they're probably, the more steps you make somebody go through, the more I'm going to trust the review coming out the back end. So I would tend to trust those more. I've not seen any studies on that. John, you got to have something.
I guess the one thing I was wondering about is if somebody's not totally clear with they're trying to be persuasive about reviews, like if they say if I forget if they actually say this when I order from 1-800-PETS or whatever it is to get dog medicine, but they always get biscuits in there and stuff. Say if they were to put a note in there prompting you to post a review, since they gave a gift, but it wasn't really, it's a 10-cent biscuit, but would that be considered coercion?
I wouldn't call that coercion or incentivized, because they're just giving that to you.
Yeah, there's no quick connection.
There's no quick pro quo. It's not place a review and then we'll send you a biscuit. That would be incentivized.
I guess they're giving you something to feel happy about them.
Yeah, they're trying to give good service.
Yeah.
What about the case of like Google giving out free phones and stuff to a bunch of bloggers?
That seems like pretty incentivized to me.
Well, where's the price point differential?
I don't know if there's a hard line there. I mean, that seems to me, I suspect, knowing Google, and I don't remember on this particular, I remember that happening. I don't remember those blog posts if they were stated whether they were incentivized. My guess is they probably were. They probably had to say somewhere in there, I was given this phone by Google, yada, 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 which that takes care of the FTC issues. They may have gone so far to say any of these posts are not going to pass along the link juice because Google doesn't need the link juice. They want the PR benefit.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to add this to our business, how do we budget for it? How do we find someone who can help us with it?
I don't know that you need a budget for it. It's well, other than time. It's not a financial budget. It's a time issue. It's give some creativity for what is, well, first of all, spend some time figuring out what are the places you need reviews for your business, because that varies for every single business. And in different cities, even the same business in different cities might perform well in different search engines. So you got to figure that out. Then you've got to be creative and figure out what are the processes for encouraging reviews. How am I going to get those reviews? Am I going to, the same chiropractor I mentioned earlier with the negative Yelp review, another thing he does is he puts in his front window, he puts the Yelp Y and the little Google balloon logo. Nothing written there. Just little things he's printed out himself. What he's done is he's trained his staff to watch who responds to those. Who knows what that Yelp logo is? Who knows what that Google Places, now Google My Business logo is? If they do, you know, yeah, all clients are equal, but those clients are a little more equal than everybody else. Because they're probably an active Yelp user or an active Google user. I want that review. Those are the sort of creativities you've got to come up with, depending on where you need reviews. And then it's just setting up those processes. So it's a time investment. It doesn't necessarily have to be a lot. It's generally a little bit all the time. Certain industries differ though. I've got a client that's a personal injury attorney. It's really hard to get reviews in that space because those guys don't want to talk about their case very often. So if you got 5 Google reviews, you're doing pretty well in that space. And there's definitely a diminishing returns. If most of the people in your space have 5 reviews and you got 50 reviews, that's not giving you 10 times the benefit. It's giving you maybe 2 or 3 times the benefit, or whatever that piece of the formula is. It's not a linear benefit, it's diminishing returns. On the other hand, if you're in the restaurant industry and everybody, let's say you're a barbecue restaurant here in Austin, and everybody on that first page of Google has 500 reviews, and you've got 30, you got a problem. You better go get some reviews. And you know what? You're going to be consistently getting reviews because I guarantee you they're getting reviews coming in every day. So it varies by industry and how many reviews you need, but it's time. It could be a little bit of time or a lot of time depending on what you need. Yes?
On that note, in your opinion, do you think that every business should take advantage of online review systems, or do you think that there are some industries where it's just not a good fit for that type of thing?
There are limited review systems for B2B type companies.
Right.
On the other hand, there are likely vertical sites for any industry, and then it may not be a formal review system, but there may be forums that talk about it. So it may not be, it may be starting to touch on kind of that social media sphere of things as well. So it may not be Yelp, but there may be I'm selling some little widget or something. Maybe there's this widget's really important in cars, whatever it is. And maybe there's a website that talks about this widget from a industry perspective, and they're not a provider themselves. There may be reviews happening there. So maybe you look at those things. It will be hard to come up with an example that doesn't have any need for reviews, but there certainly are variances in importance. Yes?
What kind of impact have you seen with businesses that started managing their reviews well?
You can have big impacts. You can go from not ranking to ranking well. You can go from, it can make a big difference people coming in the door. It used to be reviews were kind of a silver bullet, on Google particularly. That's not quite the case anymore. The hole has gotten bigger. Again, we're SEOs and we bang things until they break. So Google started rolling in the traditional algorithm with the local algorithm to try and fight the spammers a little bit. So the reviews aren't quite what they used to be, but they're still important. They're very important on things like Amazon as well for conversion. They're critically important for conversion. I don't know how much reviews impact the rankings on Amazon because their incentive is a little bit different. Google is trying to list the best company for any particular service based on the rankings. Amazon wants to list the thing that's going to sell the best. And it's a little bit different mentality. I'm sure the number of reviews and probably the quality of the reviews are a piece of that, but I don't know how big a piece of it. It's a slightly different thing. If a site only has 5 reviews, or a product only has 5 reviews on Amazon, and this other product has 50, but that first one sells better, sells more, converts at a higher rate, they're going to list that first one. Because conversion is what's important to them. Yes?
So there was mention of the Google phone, and so then we sort of conclude that was wrong for them to do that.
Depends on what they did. I don't remember the exact details.
I guess
if they disclose the relationship, it's probably not wrong.
But how about like what's the difference there? Like, I guess even if that wasn't illegal, they got a lot of backlash from people.
They did get some backlash because it looked like an incentivized review.
But how is that really any different than people that give a book to be reviewed on Amazon?
I don't know that it is. It's all in the dollar amount. It's a little different.
Yeah, but
and so that gives people different. It's the same concept. It's a good buddy of mine, a former boss of mine, a guy named Bob Levitas, who writes in the Macintosh space quite a bit, and he would get free stuff, but he would declare it in his columns. I got a copy of this, or I was given this product, and so I wrote a review.
Yeah, I've gotten a bunch of free books to review. Usually, I don't review them because I figure I just don't even I'm not going to read the book.
Right.
But I've never had one person say, like, you have to disclose that we gave it to you.
Yeah, I tend to, on my personal blog, I've reviewed a couple books I've been sent, and I always disclose it. Hey, they sent me this book. I mean, the book costs $10. It costs them $5. It's not a huge, just disclose it, and people, you look more honest that way to me. It's a gray area if you don't disclose it. Any sort of incentivization. In theory, the FTC could come after you for not disclosing that.
But shouldn't they go after the
They're going to tend to go after the bigger guys
author,
first, yeah.
Since they asked you to review it without disclosing?
Some of it's hard to say.
Yeah.
You're going to be, they probably go after the author because it's a bigger purse, or the publisher in most cases.
Yeah, I guess it makes it even more dicey if you're using an affiliate link.
Yes.
Because then you're going to more likely have a positive review.
Well, there's the whole question of the affiliate link. Should an affiliate link be disclosed? If you're getting compensation for that link, Google would say yes.
I would vote no.
Yeah, the industry would differ in many cases. Yes.
So how does the BBB reviews play into all of this? I know you didn't mention BBB.
Yeah, because it's an odd duck. It might be that the BBB is still trying to find its place in this new world. And I'm not sure they've figured it out, and I don't know exactly where they're going to go. They don't really have the cachet of a Yelp or something like that. I'm not entirely sure where their value is. You will sometimes, in certain cases, see a BBB review being pulled into Google. Not too often, but once in a while. I mean, if anything, that Better Business Bureau seal probably has some conversion benefit in certain marketplaces, particularly those of us of a certain age. Will tend to appreciate that more. The millennials might not care about that quite as much. So it depends on your market. If you're selling really fancy clothes for 20-year-olds, BBB probably doesn't matter.
Maybe older professional lawyers.
Yeah, things like that. It depends on the marketplace. It will play more. I've got the personal injury attorney client I was talking about asked me kind of that question, should I do BBB? I was like, kind of hard to justify the benefit from a direct search engine perspective. Is there secondary benefit? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Back in the back. Bizarre voice, yes.
Oh yeah, I was going to add to the publishers when you get an advanced reader copy. So I get advanced reader copies too for my personal blog. And if the publisher sends it to you, I would say that you should probably, it's either the publisher or the author, because it depends on who the responsibility to market comes from. Because if the publisher has to be paid more to run the publication and then advertise it, they ask more from the author. So the advanced reader copies tend to come before the book publishes, and so you're not really, all you're doing is hyping it for the public.
Yeah, it might not be final.
It's not final. They tend to make changes from what's made at the advanced reader copy. So sometimes you don't have to disclose it. Stephen Brust discloses when he gets books from Scott Lynch, but they're big names. They're tossing each other's names around on the internet. When I get advanced reader copies from small independent publishers, they tend to not be the final product.
But then you probably want to disclose that.
Yeah.
That it's an advanced copy, because, hey, you know what? I reviewed this advanced copy. The final copy might be a lot better or a lot worse.
Yeah.
And for your blog's credibility, you probably ought to disclose that.
Yes.
I had one up here, I thought. Anybody else? Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. There's plenty of beer, and we're here till 8:30, so hang out and chat, and have a good night.
I'll be here for a while.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.